Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
McKennie, and again McKennie! 2-0!
2-0! Yep.
Willkommen to the Schnitzel Boys. We had a real 2-0 week. How you doing, Bjorn?
I'm doing great. My hat does not fit under my headphones, so I don't know how long this will last. But yeah, I'm great. I'm happy for you and the U.S. men's national team. It was a very convincing performance, and I don't know. It seems like U.S. men's national team Twitter doesn't know what to do with themselves.
We know exactly what to do with ourselves. Make fun of Memo Ochoa is what we know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the story, but Memo Ochoa...
Well, tell the story and I'll have opinions.
Well, Memo Ochoa said something a little cocky. Pretty much he's just like the United States sees something about, they look in the mirror and they try to match themselves to us. The greatness, the tradition of us. And then Christian Pulisic scored a goal, lifted up his shirt, and said, "Man in the mirror." As in a very, oh yeah, you look in the mirror and you see me scoring on your ass. As that ribbing continues and now adds itself another chapter in the great U.S.-Mexico 2-0 lore.
I guess
so
that's part of that rivalry, right? The pettiness has to be fully embraced. Like Miazga making fun of Diego Lainez being short, and now we have
Rafa Marquez trying to kill us at every game. Like there's just one. I recently rewatched the 2002 2-0, the most famous one of all, the one from the World Cup, and Rafa Marquez at the end just freaking. Like high kicks, like he misses. He goes to Kobe Jones. I think he misses punching him, so he kicks him. Like he was just violently trying to tackle that guy. And I remember when Rafa Marquez played for my New York Red Bulls, one of the worst New York Red Bulls players of all time. I remember. I think I was there when all he would do is run on the field, if he was ever available, and just freaking grab people and throw them around. It's just like all he did. It's like, yo, you used to play soccer. Like at Barcelona, you didn't do that. At Barcelona, you played soccer or football.
That's why his career lasted as long as it did, because it really wasn't about athletic skill towards the end of it. It was he was just there to be mean and intimidate.
Well, I think he played till he was old. I mean, he was at the 2018 World Cup, I think.
Right?
Off the bench at 39 or something. He played for Lyon for years after Red Bulls, and he did much better. Like literally, the Red Bulls, and when he left, he made fun of the league. Just said MLS is this dumb amateur league. Bye bye, because he was a real piece of work all around. So I'm glad to say that this year USA and Mexico played each other 3 times, and the United States is 3-0, the first time since 1937. You remember that? You remember 1937?
Oh, that was the golden years. 1937. Ugh.
A young Charlie Chaplin was making movies, and USA and Mexico were just playing each other 3 times. People were going to ye old Columbus and ye old Crew Stadium to watch that.
And that's what us Germans were focused on. Nothing else going on in
That's right.
1937.
In Germany, the only thing they were working on is soccer. It was free democracy. The economy was doing great.
Everything was perfect.
Freedom was lovely.
The golden days. This reminds me.
There's no looming storm of a great destruction of Central Europe for the next 10 years. That was not happening.
Oh no, that wasn't
30s.
right. This reminds me when my son first was like he was like 4 maybe or 5. He was supposed to do a diorama in preschool or kindergarten, and he did one about Germany, and it was all like, Germany's awesome. Germany has great food and soccer, and I'm like, it's so nice that he has this, and then soon enough, a couple years later, he's like, Dad, what the fuck, World War II?
I know. I remember when I was a kid, I had to be like, wait a minute, what? I had to learn about it. I'm still learning about it. I have to learn about it. But you know what is a little pet peeve though of mine is it's the only part of German history anybody knows. Like Germany is an 1,000-year-old history. It's from the Battle of Teutoburg, right? I think is the very first sort of acknowledgement of German peoples or something like that, and that's from 900 AD is when that happened. Or maybe even before then. I don't know. My German history is a little all over. Because we didn't learn it in school. I had to Google it myself. But anyway, long story short, Germany's got this 1,000-year history. And like any American will ever know about is the 5 years of the World War II. Because they were involved. Other than that, they have no idea about any of it.
They do stand out, in fairness.
So, I know. But like literally I was in a 2010 World Cup. I'm at a German restaurant in North Carolina where I was living at the time, watching Germany versus Argentina, I believe. And I mentioned something about how, like, there's a lot of Germans in South America. And one guy is like, we all know why or whatever. Clearly alluding to the fact that Nazis went there to escape after the war. Which is like, that's true, but the Germans were there beforehand. That's why they went to escape. Germans just left in the 1800s. They went all over the world to find farmland. South America is no different. So it's not like, so the one fact you know about Germans in Argentina is that Hitler lived there for the rest of his days. whatever conspiracy you want to think. It's like the reason the Germans went there after the war is because Germans have already been there for 100 years. There is a town in Colombia where they only speak German. Did you know that, Bjorn?
I did not know that. A town in
One of
Colombia?
the many.
In Colombia.
Colombia. It's a special Spanish-German, like their version of Amish. There are towns in Texas where I went to a few months ago called Friedrichsburg, where the Texans still speak Old German, Texas Deutsch. Germans, like I said, in the 1800s, they left. They just went all over the world, and they planted their seed, which is why there's so many German communities today. It's not really related to the Second World War.
Presumably, I'm should know this more clearly, but isn't there a story that there was a vote about which language was supposed to be the language of the U.S.?
That's a myth.
That's not actually true. Okay.
Yeah, there was a vote in Pennsylvania once upon a time, like 100 years ago, but that was just Pennsylvania. I think that was, and it's not really well substantiated because I Googled that once. It's hard to substantiate that. But there was a lot of Germans here in the U.S. at one point. They were banned, right? They were treated like dirty immigrants, and they were told that the English were like, we don't want these Germans here, and blah, 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 blah. If I'm not mistaken, there's absolutely no modern day applications to relate to that story. I don't know. I think it's an isolated incident.
It's just one time that happened. Yes,
it's just a one-time deal to be
potato eaters. Just the potato eaters. Yeah.
But anyway, we could talk Germany a little bit.
Everybody else was welcome at all times.
Everybody else is welcome. Just the Germans were not welcome. No, they always go through that. The Irish had their thing. A lot of Irish, when they showed up, they had to put on Civil War uniforms to go down to Mexico and fight. And that's why there's a lot of redheaded Mexicans. Unfortunately, we didn't see any redheaded Mexicans on Friday night.
On Friday night,
at least not that I saw, because we had hold on, let me get that. I think I got myself a new drop. Oh no, I did not. I did not put it up. I just isolated Dos Acero, but I did not put that up yet.
Dos Acero.
Dos Acero. You know what's beautiful about this game? And I think we're going to talk Germany stuff, right? We're going to talk a little Germany, a little Germany, Armenia, but maybe we'll save that for later. Or do you want to do that now? I think we should.
No. Let's. 2-0 is the news item of the week. And
let's talk.
I mean, and you are a genuine. I am a sympathizer. You are a genuine U.S. men's national team fan. I would say that Germany is my number one team. But so. No, let's go.
Would the United States be your second team, or you just like don't really care?
For a long time really didn't care, and now I care a little bit. I was excited. I mean, I definitely was.
This is why I wanted. This is why I was thinking of bringing a guest host tonight. I was like, we should get two Americans talking on this. I am a genuine American fan, and so the story goes. When I started watching soccer, it was just Germany because the United States didn't have much. This was in the 90s. The U.S. just didn't have much going for it. And I also lived overseas at the time. A little about me is I lived in Brazil at the time. So, in Brazil, it's all about Brazil. And then even in Brazil, European football is like secondary. They just didn't care. Mm-hmm. So I was weird because I watched the Champions League and things like that. And, I really like Germany. And the 98 squad was my first German squad, which is a terrible squad to be introduced to as far as German soccer history goes. But I still had Bierhoff and Klinsmann and older Matthäus.
Thomas Hessler was still hanging on.
I loved Hessler, but then the 02 Germany was a much better Germany under Rudi Völler that got a little bit better. And then we had the reboot and stuff. So, but anyway, long story short, the 2002 tournament, I moved back to the United States on July 4th, 2002. And that was when Brazil won the World Cup. I was living in Brazil at the time. So Brazil was at a party. It was amazing to be in a country when they won the World Cup. The whole country was at the same party. It was so much fun. But the United States had a really good showing. They had a great team. I remember watching that USA, getting up early, watching that USA Portugal game. And that 2002 team converted me to be like, I need to start following my boys, the U.S. And then I moved to the U.S. at the time. And so I forced myself to be an MLS fan because it was the only league on TV. And then that 2002 All-Star game was the MLS All-Star foreigners versus the 2002 team of whoever they can scrounge up. I think Tony Miola was in goal and things like that. So that's essentially the birth of my American soccerhood. Cut to 2010, I'm watching with my German parents. And my German parents are German soccer fans. It's kind of like you, they're German, so they're German soccer fans. They're fine with the U.S. They watch the U.S. They sympathize with the U.S., but they're not like diehard U.S. fans or anything. They like the fact that a lot of the U.S. players play in the Bundesliga, so they connect them that way. But anyway, when Landon Donovan scored that goal against Algeria at the end, I freaking jumped out of my sofa and I went, yes! Like screaming at my ass. And my parents just looked over because they could have cared less if the U.S. made it through the next round or not. So they just looked over and they're like, wow, you really like this team, don't you, or something. And that's kind of when I realized I was probably more of a U.S. soccer fan than a German soccer fan. Not that I'm against Germany, but Germany comes in a very close second to me. But as an American who always lived somewhere where people say Americans suck and you're not a real soccer country and boo-boo, that really puts a chip on your shoulder to really line up and root for them. Not only am I fending off foreigners, I'm also fending off domestics. Like, I can't tell you how many Americans have come up to me and be like, U.S. soccer, don't we suck? That kind of stuff. In addition to Irish bartenders being like, you didn't qualify? Ireland would have qualified. Yeah, my ass. Ireland hasn't qualified in years. And then a bunch of like Romanians will be like, you don't know soccer, only we know soccer. And I'm like, oh yeah, Romanians? Other than George Hadji, what the heck have you ever done? So if, I am a proud U.S. soccer fan and I defend it with my heart. All my heart.
All right. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's I definitely sympathize with that. I think U.S. soccer fans, in my experience, often have, a much broader view of world soccer, really, because they are watching, Americans all over the world and have sort of. I mean, honestly, when I was in Germany, I was watching Bundesliga. That was it. Like, I barely knew anything about
There's nothing else on TV.
Countries. Yeah, there's nothing else on TV. And anything else, you would see some teams during, like, the European club competitions before Champions League. And so Yeah, my knowledge, and then every once in a while a German. They had at some point they had a bunch of German players in Italy, but even so, I would not really. Yeah, because like you're saying, it wasn't really available then on TV, and so I didn't really know.
But that's
much.
the point. That's the point, though. Like when I was in Brazil, it was just Brazil. There was the Argentinian league wasn't on TV, and if you're in Argentina, the Brazilian league's not on TV. It's just like traditional soccer powerhouses are that way because they have their own culture.
Yeah, and they're
Italy,
like, oh, everything else,
same thing.
Yeah, it's like, who cares? Who cares about England? Who cares about But then you have this sort of myopic.
Mexico has that too, which is hilarious because outside of Mexico, no one gives a crap about Mexico.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Mexicans
are very proud of themselves.
Liga MX is not, it's the most popular league in the U.S. But
in the Americas, I think.
Yeah.
Or something, maybe North America, I should say. Chivas and Club America, but the thing is, like, they have that same mentality, but the difference is they have no trophies to prove it. You know what I mean? Perennial underachievers. Like when Marco Fabian left Frankfurt and came back to Liga MX, he's like, yeah, Liga MX is about as good as the Bundesliga is. That's what he said. And I was like, BS. It's like, you're the star of this league. You were on Eintracht Frankfurt as a squad player in Germany. You're not allowed to come over and be like, yeah, it's the same. You're not some Bayern München star. You know what I mean? So it's just very much, there's a lot of pride there, but I feel for whatever reason they just could never, like, they didn't really qualify for the next round games until the U.S. showed up. Like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Other than the time they hosted, what have they ever done at a World Cup?
My first introduction to the World Cup was 1978, where Mexico was atrocious. They lost to Tunisia, which back then that was a huge deal. Losing to an African team. African teams generally back then came to collect double-digit defeats. So Tunisia beating Mexico was a huge thing, and then Germany, a German team that didn't make the semifinals, beat Mexico 6-0 in the group stage in 1978. So my introduction to Mexico was as a probably their worst showing in the World Cup. But you want to
find it funny.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, like my good friend who works for Volkswagen, his dad worked for Volkswagen. Volkswagen has a giant factory plant in Puebla, Mexico. The whole city of Puebla is essentially in Mexico, essentially run by Volkswagen. It's like a factory town. Kind of like how Wolfsburg in Germany is Volkswagen. Puebla in Mexico is like the Mexican Wolfsburg. Anyway, he moved there from Brazil. He's a Spaniard, huge Barcelona fan, was a big Palmeiras fan in Brazil where I was. I was a Corinthians fan. And he moved to Mexico, and then he would just talk to me all the time about how, like, just what Mexican soccer is like and how it's a big deal over there. But again, it's just so funny. Outside of Mexico, you have no experience with it. Very big fish in a very small pond. So the only reason I bring that up is because I hope, for Mexico to get better, they have to realize that. It's an issue they've known for years. They have to send more players to Europe. It can't just be Chucky Lozano, Raul Jimenez, and Hector Herrera. You got to have more guys over there. And you can't be comfortable in your own pond. That was MLS's issue, which is essentially why we failed the 2018 World Cup. Partly was not enough of our players were MLS wasn't letting enough of our players go and explore overseas and get better contracts overseas. And it's just you got to strike that balance. In Mexico, if you want that quinto partido, you have to go to Europa. You have to go. More of you have to go to Bundesliga, like your friend Pavel Pardo or Marco Fabian or Carlos Salcedo did with Eintracht Frankfurt. You got to go over there. So this is my tough love.
That's your prescription. Your prescription for your rivals.
They got a fever, and the only thing that can cure that fever is going to Mexico.
It's going to Europe.
Going to Europe. Going to Europe.
Leaving Mexico.
Going to Mexico. On here,
You want to talk about the game? Want to talk about the game? Let's talk about the game,
baby. Let's talk about the game. I just have to air out my grievances as a U.S. fan with Mexico. So this is a big game because in 4 years, USA, Canada, and Mexico are co-hosting the World Cup. So there's no more qualifiers. And then in 2030, there's going to be a World Cup every 2 years. They're both going to have 64 teams or some crap. FIFA's preparing to ruin the World Cup. So this is the last World Cup with 32 teams and these kinds of qualifiers. So this game could very well be the end of an era. So you're going to end it right. You play in Ohio during wintertime and you win 2-0. And that's what our boys did last night. The first half, I would say Mexico had two of the better chances. It was
Zach Steffen coming up big.
Stepping up. He is going to play tomorrow against Jamaica, and he played against Mexico, and he was a freaking 10 out of 10, I think. Not only was his distribution excellent, which is why you play him over Matt Turner, his shot stopping was pretty on point, which is the one thing Matt Turner had over him. But last Friday night, Zach Steffen said, I can shot stop too. And that's exactly what he did. That placement, that I believe it was Tecatito, I think, soft placement was going right into the goal. And Zach Steffen didn't see it until very late, slapped it out.
Well, I think people get very polarized with this goalie decision, right? And so then they kind of exaggerate for dramatic effect, like saying, Matt Turner can't distribute the ball, which is not true, and Zach Steffen can't stop any shots. So, I mean, they're both good goalkeepers. It's a good problem to have. I definitely would have started Matt Turner if it was me picking the team, but Zach Steffen really, like you said, stepped up, played well.
Well, Matt Turner proved himself over the summer, so it's like, he did it once. Why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Zach Steffen didn't play either game. He was injured. I mean, he played some of the Nations League final, but if you remember, he was injured. Ethan Horvath came on. So even Horvath was the hero at the Nations League. Matt Turner was the hero at the Gold Cup. So Zach Steffen, I guess, got himself an opportunity to be hero at the qualifiers. But Zach Steffen didn't really prove himself against Mexico, so that's why it was an interesting choice. But he put in the goal, and he proved himself. And he's also getting a start against Jamaica, which to me is also a little interesting because it seems that although there is slight rotation, it's pretty clear that Zach Steffen is still the number one under Greg Berhalter's eyes. And if he keeps playing like that, I'm perfectly fine with it. But again, Matt Turner's playing week in and week out with his club, and Zach Steffen is not. So we'll see. We'll see if Zach Steffen can stay warm. But either or, he had a great game. He was probably the best player on the pitch, honestly, if I had to say so myself. And
Tim Weah would like a word, maybe, but
Tim Weah would be, I would say, aggressive. The how do I say this? The man of the match, like the favorite man of the match, the overstated man of the match is Tim Weah. Understated man of the match to me would be Tyler Adams.
I see.
Because he just proves time and time again how important he is. Him and Weston McKennie are the machine of the train that is the U.S. men's national team. Christian Pulisic's fun, but he provides spark.
Yeah, I would say Yunus Musa is getting in there into that.
18-year-old Yunus Musa is proven to be a starter. This is MMA midfield. The McKennie, Musa, Adams, that's our midfield. And it's working. The three of them work well together. And the funny thing about that is, or not funny, but the great thing about that is, in today's modern era, is Gianluca Buzio is great. He's crushing in Italy. I hope we'll get to see him tomorrow against Jamaica. Because Buzio has, in any other era, Buzio could very well be like team captain or something. He is just strong enough to be out there. Luca De La Torre isn't too shabby either, who isn't even called into camp this time. So not only do we have a strong midfield three, we have a pretty strong backup three in Kellen Acosta, Gianluca Buzio, and Luca De La Torre. Because I think when Kellen Acosta's focused on his game, he does a pretty dang good defensive midfielder, which he did over the summer against Mexico. Our wingers, excellent depth. Brandon Aronson had a great solid game like usual. Tim Weah could very well have been his best game in a U.S. shirt ever.
He's probably
Friday night.
He's going to have that starting spot, right, over Paul Arriola for the time being.
Well, we have to see what happens when Reyna comes back. I think that's sort of the when Reyna and Pulisic are healthy, what's going to happen with Aronson and Weah? That's that, again, great problem to have. As we're talking earlier with the goalkeepers, the U.S. men's national team is having all these great problems that we used to never have. We have 5 right backs. Joe Scally still hasn't played. We used to not have a left back. We have a couple left back options. We're probably light on the left back. We're a little bit light on the holding midfielder. After Tyler Adams and then Acosta, you really don't have, Christian Roldan is
Jimmy
there, but he's not really
Sands. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Jimmy Sands. He's a bum that has to spend a little more time in the oven. His only holding midfield time against Honduras was an absolute travesty. But he's called.
You take that back. That was not a travesty.
Oh,
that was a travesty.
Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. What game am I thinking? Panama? I'm thinking. There's one game where he was out there as a holding mid, and it was terrible. He had to get pulled off at the half. It was either Honduras or I don't remember. It was one of the games we're not proud of.
He didn't get pulled.
You can forget all you want, my friend, but Jimmy Sands.
He didn't get pulled at the half. He played 6. He played 7. I know exactly what you're talking about. He didn't have a great first half. I'll give you that, but a travesty is overstating it. And he came back strong in for 20 minutes after the half before they took him out. I
is this
disagree.
Honduras or Panama?
This is Honduras. Yeah,
because we won that game. But not with his help. Anyway, James Sands is in camp, so he's there. He's back.
Yeah,
they called him better.
They called him in. Yep.
To take over suspended Miles Robinson. So anyway, our number 9 is a little shallow. We got Pepe after Pepe. We don't have much. I'm a PFOC fan. I think Hoppy's got a lot of potential. There's potential there. But as far as people that are ready to play number 9 right now, it's Ricardo Pepi and then no one else, to be honest. So we're a little light on that. But the rest of the positions on the field, including goalkeeper, including center back, right, with James Sands and Chris Richards. I believe my boy Matt Miazga deserves another shot at some point. John Brooks is in great form. There is, he could have very well have been in this camp. He'll be in the next camp. Walker Zimmerman is crushing it. He is such a strong center back for us. We're not even missing John Brooks because of him. So the first half was a little bit like, okay, well, we'll do this. They had a couple chances, but we held the ball, boop, boop, boop. And then second half, we came out running. I think after maybe one moment or two in the beginning, the rest of the game was all us. And then Christian Pulisic coming off the bench on his first touch, scoring a Clint Dempsey-style goal. A good old rough header placed right past Memo, man-in-the-mirror Ochoa. And then a few minutes later, we were very fortuitous. The soccer gods rained upon us this great opportunity for Weston McKennie to score a second goal in, to give us that 2-0. We have been longing for a long time.
Yeah,
we did not get it during last time.
That was a little fortunate.
We didn't get it over the summer. We didn't get it during the last qualifying round. It's been 2 qualifying rounds since we've had a good 2-0 at home, and it's nice to bring that back. And I think it is a representation of where this U.S. program is right now. We're sort of back to how strong we used to be, and there's only one way to go, which is up, my friend.
How strong how strong you used to be? This is as talented as I don't know, 1937 we were talking about. I don't quite remember.
Bjorn, do you remember? I remember I was a little baby. I remember the 1930 World Cup. I watched it on. It wasn't 4K. It was 1080p back then.
The England game, the famed England.
No.
Oh, that was 1950.
You're thinking,
I'm sorry.
I'm talking 1930. Do you know where the United States placed in the 1930 World Cup? Trivia for you, my friend.
I don't know.
3rd place.
What?
Yep. The United States made it to the semis, where they lost to Argentina 7-1. Because in Argentina were the eventual finalists, and the United States beat Yugoslavia 3-1 in the 3rd place match.
For the 3rd place game. Well,
there was an American soccer player named Bert Patenaude. He is the first ever player to score a World Cup hat trick of all time, and is an American by the name of Bert Patenaude. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There was a golden age of American soccer, and it was in the 20s.
Okay, but if we kind of discount those very far gone times. I mean,
this was 100 years ago, whatever. 90 years ago, whatever.
This is the most talented U.S. men's national team that I can remember.
Apparently there was some story, I believe it was either 30 or 34, where like a U.S. player got injured, and then the physio ran on, and then he tripped, and a bottle of ether he had in his bag just exploded, like just fell, and then everyone just passed out. Everyone near him just passed out of the ether gas. It happened during one of the games. I wish I could learn. I need to Google more about that. But it was a fun incident. But anyway, the 1930, and then 20 years later, the 1950 U.S. team beat England 1-0, and then many years later they tied England 1-1. So when the English fans are cocky against the U.S. team, it's like, we played you twice, we beat you once, you tied once. You could be cocky when you beat us, okay? Okay, Englishmen, English fans, And if you're telling me England can beat the U.S. now, they can, but we can win too. I think I think we got a shot for that. So the U.S. team is as talented as it's ever been. That's true. However, they're still young. They're still figuring stuff out. Teams of the past, like Bruce Arena's teams, Bob Bradley's teams, they were less talented, but they were more figured out, and they were more set in the way they played. You know what I mean? There was a period of time where Dos a Cero was an expectation, and since Klinsmann has been coach, that stopped. Mexico regained its dominance, and we slowly have to sort of regain our dominance in the region, which I feel we did this past 6 months. So that's what I was getting at with that whole thing. But anyway, we had 2 great goals. The McKennie goal was a little fortuitous, but that happens.
Yeah. That happens. Then can we talk about the celebration? It was a little bit of a halting.
Which one?
The McKennie.
McKennie
does this, but it took him a long time to.
Yeah, you had to run the halfway point. Yeah.
Sort of ambling across the field, waving his arm sort of indecisively, given a lot of space.
Expecto Patronum. We need to come up with a soccer spell. It should be a Doso Acero or something. It should be like Golo Oscoro or something. Golo Scoro. That's what it
was. I don't know. It struck me as a little halting, this celebration.
No, Bjorn, you just don't get it. There's a big party. Everyone's there. Props up to Cincinnati for being a great host. Finally, a pro-U.S. crowd.
But
honestly, McKennie could have spent 3 more minutes running around the field. I would have been perfectly fine with that.
It just didn't. Well, all right.
Well, after Pulisic scored, him and McKennie did this weird, like, mirroring each other thing. I don't know if you saw that, because they must have pre-planned and rehearsed a mirror.
Oh, this man in the
That's
man
the real
in the mirror
celebration.
thing.
And then apparently at the stadium they played Man in the Mirror right when the game ended.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
That's right.
It's a well-oiled machine, this U.S. men's national team. U.S. soccer they're working as a team. It's in unison. Everything is just clicking right now for this team.
It's in unison. Does that make sense?
In unison? Unison?
Everything is in unison Musa. All right? Everything is in unison Musa right now. Musa, he had so many moments we just dribbled through everybody and no one can take the ball from him. He's 18. I'm a kid in a candy store. These guys are going to get better and better and better. And Yunus Musa's English is going to get better and better too as he spends more time with the U.S. players. Jordan Pifak could learn the language. We're just going to get more. We're just going to go from strength to strength. I'm really excited. Things.
I would just want to talk about Christian Pulisic for a second. I think he got a little bit. I mean, especially in recent games, it seemed a little bit like the team was almost better off without him. Like, especially in this qualifying cycle, he seemed to sort of over dribble a little bit, so it was just a great performance.
Better off without him. Without him.
There was some. I mean, you could make the point. What was the last game he started before his injury? I think it was it the Honduras game where he had to come off? It was.
Where he got injured. That's right. And,
he did not have a good first half in that game. He was just sort of trying to take everybody on by himself, and
so him and Reyna did that, but that could be. I mean, honestly, that Pulisic and Reyna have a thing. They take on players 1 to 2, and then maybe 3, and then they go on to player 4 and 5. And 4 and 5 always clobber them, take the ball, and then they lose it.
Yeah,
that happened with both those guys. Now, I don't know if that's because Berhalter isn't giving them enough of a game plan up top, because at the same time, Pulisic would be like, we need new ideas, and blah, 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 blah. That was very disconcerting, but I don't know if that's the player or the coach or a combo of
It's got to all be Greg's fault. I'm sorry. That's right.
Well, No, it doesn't got to be great. But I'm saying, yeah, that's bad. Like, the reason Tim Way had such a great game, because him and Berhalter sat down and looked at video game footage for hours. Excuse me, game footage, not video game footage. It was game footage for hours, and Greg Berhalter was like, this is what you do that's good, this is what you do that's bad. They got pinpoint on what made him effective, and he was like that on overdrive today, and that's Greg Berhalter. You don't just throw players out there. You throw them out there, and you lean into their strengths. So, there is a room for Pulisic and Reina. Maybe we haven't quite figured it out yet.
No, for sure, there's room for him. What I was going to say is that it was just impressive the way he came off the bench and put himself in the position that Pepe was supposed to be in, really, for that header. Mm-hmm. And Taylor Twellman said this on the broadcast, which I didn't realize. He is he has scored more goals than anyone in CONCACAF over the last however many
really?
years since his arrival. Yeah, he has 11 goals in qualifying in games that matter, qualifying and Gold Cup, etc. Yeah. And so this was my little, Christian Pulisic appreciation moment.
Yeah, Pulisic's the real deal. If he never came off that bench, that game might have ended 0-0.
It's possible.
It had that kind of feeling, don't you think?
There was
that spark. He could finish. Pepe was having kind of a rough game. Pepe is a great finisher in the box. And there was one moment maybe he should have done better on. But other than that, he really needs to develop more. Like, when he's out on that field, going in deep, getting the ball, he struggles. He fails doing that. Pepe succeeds when he's in the box, he positions well, and he can finish. And they had his number. They frickin' crowded Pepe. Pepe wasn't given an inch today. Mm-hmm. So it needed the quality of Pulisic to finally break through. Pulisic came off the bench and provided that quality to, Brendan Aronson, as great as he is, Brendan Aronson doesn't run in the box and do headers like that. Right. Pulisic did that. It was a very Clint Dempsey-esque, shadow forward, run in the box, critical sniper finish type move that he pulled off. And Pulisic can do that. Our other wingers maybe not so much. So, I think when Pulisic is healthy, he should be our starting winger, definitely. But that's a whole nother story, how long he can stay healthy, I imagine tomorrow he'll probably come off the bench again. I don't know if he'll start. I would be surprised if he starts, and if he starts, he'd only do 60 minutes or so. He'd probably then he wouldn't do a full 90. Thomas Tuchel would get mad. Not that we care, but Thomas Tuchel wants his minutes as limited as possible.
He wants his boy to be protected. This was a big win also just in terms of math because of the way Panama came back in their game. It's still very tight, and if the U.S. U.S. is now at 14, right, and so they have a 3-point
tied at
lead.
top with a +2. I think
but really,
+5 goal difference.
What matters
Panama
is
a crazy comeback.
Yeah, crazy comeback for Panama, and what matters is the distance to the fourth place, right? Because the first 3 places qualify. So, right now that's still only 3 points.
The crazy thing that's going to happen is Mexico is going to lose to Canada up in Edmonton. When Mexico loses to Canada tomorrow or whenever they play, and I think maybe Panama will win, there's a good chance that Mexico will be tied for 4th place.
And Tata Martino will be coaching FC Cincinnati next season.
Hey, I would love that. The FC Cincinnati needs some sort of turnaround, and I think that's a great... He's like, I'm sick and tired of coming to the stadium and losing. I need to win this time. Pardon me as I pour myself some water. And I don't think they're going to get rid of him. He's too expensive. But, it's not looking good for Tata if they finish... if they're at 4th place this week. They struggle. The Mexicans struggle in the cold. And that's the reason we do our game in Ohio during the wintertime. And the Canadians are like, oh, yeah? Ohio in November? Hold my beer. Welcome to Edmonton in November. You know what I mean? Edmonton, you saw, not only is that stadium too small, it was very thin. It was almost like they were playing at Yankee Stadium if you saw the game. If you saw the highlights, it was a very thin field. But cold. The Mexican team is not They're going to wear 2 long sleeve shirts. They're not going to want to come out of their dressing room. I think it's going to be a frosty 1-0 win for Canada, and I think Mexico will have a rough go at it this time around. They'll be fine. They'll get their points later and so forth. But the road against the U.S. and the road against Canada are 2 tough games that I don't think they were ready for. The other sad thing about Mexico is they just seem a little aged. As young as the U.S. is, Mexico's got the same old players, and they're just not playing with the same old passion,
A little bit long in the tooth, that squad. Yeah, I would agree. Want to talk a little Germany World Cup? I mean, not really a whole lot to say about it. Germany already qualified, played Liechtenstein, and that game was kind of over.
Little.
That game was over before it began. Liechtenstein had a player sent off 10 minutes in, and then the floodgates.
Crazy kick to the neck.
Yeah.
I missed it. I started watching like 10 minutes in, and then I just saw Goretzka with he just had blood all over his neck. I'm like, what the heck happened? And I saw the replay. Dirty. I mean, it was a mistake of a tackle, I guess. But
it looked like
freaking
clumsy,
straight to his neck.
Clumsy more than intentional, but yeah. No, it was, and then it was kind of disappointing. It looked like, for a moment, Gundogan alone was going to score a half dozen goals, and everybody was going to get some. But then there was a lot of kind of, I mean, it's you don't often say that a 9-0 result is flattering for a team, but I think Liechtenstein got a little lucky. Could have gotten a lot worse.
That's a bigger issue. Europe has San Marino, Liechtenstein, Faroe Islands, all these micronations that go up against Germany, Italy, and France. It's like, in the United States, we don't do that. We have what's called a pre-qualifier. So Guyana and all these, like Guyana they can't field a professional team. They're all dock workers that play soccer on the weekends. And Liechtenstein's the same thing. Little history lesson. Germany and Liechtenstein are in the group all the time. It's always Germany beat up Liechtenstein.
Yeah, it's happened frequently, yeah.
It happens all the time. I remember years ago, I think the first game I watched, it was like 8-2, and that was bad Germany. It was like 1999's Germany. That was like a bad German squad beating them 8-2. Liechtenstein is a tiny micronation, quote unquote, but it's like Swiss territory. I think I should probably have Googled the history ahead of time. It was a gift to German royalty, a guy named Liechtenstein, Baron von Liechtenstein or something like that. As a gift, they gave him this castle and this land. And he is like, great thing. He never visited it. Liechtenstein never, ever went to Liechtenstein. He died never having visited his gift.
The irony.
That whole area, the irony, typical old European royalty, those crazy hounds. But so that there's small Swiss territory. I think within Liechtenstein, the city is called Vaduz, right? And there's a club called FC Vaduz, which competes in the Swiss league system. Mm-hmm. I think they're even a second division Swiss club, I think. Maybe even a third division Swiss club. But that club, which is the equivalent of like a Brooklyn, like semi-pro, like after-school amateur club.
Does not employ any Liechtensteiners.
Exactly. Well, that's what they're pulling from. They're pulling from that one semi-pro club, and that's what makes the Liechtensteiner national team. Do you think it's fair for them to play the 4-time world champions Germany every freaking 2 years?
Well, I think
those poor guys.
I agree with you, and I think the Nations League, right, is an attempt to address this. The Nations League has these different tiers and promotion and relegation between them, and so then the Liechtensteins and the San Marinos and the Luxembourgs and the Faroe Islands can sort of
hang out.
Can crown the king of the minions in the tier 4 of the Nations League. So yeah, I think that is a problem, and it's also, like, Germany then went on to beat Armenia 4-1 in the second game, and then kind of, the headline I saw afterwards, Hansi Flick is saying we're back now that after this year in 2021, and really, are we back? We'll see. I don't know. It's not until you don't know. The Armenia and Liechtenstein are not the benchmarks of whether or not we're back, and so, but we really won't know until the World Cup, and probably even then, depending on what the draw is, we won't know until perhaps the later rounds. And because Germany really has a history of this, right? The German national team
yeah.
of being, I guess, some sort of flat track bully of like we beat up the little guys in qualification, and then
Well, it's not their fault. They're thrown in. Like the European qualification was 10 groups this year, groups of 5. I just looked through it, and it was every group was like one giant, one decent, and then a bunch of minnows. And I'm like, you're not allowed to sit there and say how much harder Europe is to qualify from. Here's a little bit of a theoretical for you. I looked at each and every single one of those groups, and I think the United States could qualify out of each of those groups. Not necessarily as winner, but in a playoff spot. I think so. In the Germany group, who would have challenged? The Germany group is Germany, Armenia, Liechtenstein, Iceland, North Macedonia, and I think that's it, right? Is there someone else?
Did you say Romania? Did you say Romania?
I did not say Romania. And Romania, right? That's the group. Are you telling me the United States does not have the quality to finish second in that group? I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but they can. They can challenge.
I mean, this
Romania,
also this is not the. This is one of the weaker groups. Also, if you take Germany away, I think
groups are similar though.
I think North Macedonia is a little bigger, is a little better than maybe their name.
Yeah, they're fine.
Their name sort of suggests, and Iceland is a little worse than they were a couple of years ago. They were
underachievers, right? But still, Iceland, like the United States, can still beat Iceland. The Iceland that made it to the Euro 2016 round of 16, that was a good team, but the United States still has the quality to defeat that team. They were just on a good run and a good summer, you know. And after all, we've got our own Iceman, Aaron Johansson, to set us straight. But all I'm saying is, like, it's cool they played.
God. Aaron Johansson, the Aaron Johansson, that's becoming like a weekly thing. The Aaron Johansson reference.
Who just signed with a club in Iceland. So he's back, baby. He's playing. The Iceman's back in Iceland. But all I'm saying is now the qualification is essentially over for all of them. Serbia defeated Portugal. That was a surprise.
A huge surprise. On the road.
Swiss. Yeah. Well, no, but the Serbians, North Macedonians, Yugoslavia is a soccer. They're good at soccer over there.
Yeah.
All right. Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, North Macedonia, none of them are pushovers. Do you know?
Okay, but you wouldn't have put a lot of money on Serbia winning on the road against Portugal to take first place.
No, but it doesn't surprise me that much. I mean, do you remember the Yugoslavia teams of the 90s? That was a great team. There's great players from there. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, other guys.
What?
You know, Ibrahimovic is a Serb refugee. Right? He's got it in his heart. I'm telling you, the talent is there. The North American Soccer League back in the day was all the Americans were just old escaped Yugoslavians that got a passport. All right, they're talented players.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
talented players.
All right.
But Germany beat 9-0, 4-1. Hansi Flick is the first German coach in history to win 6 of his first games, I believe. So technically he's on a very great record. But you're right. I remember back when I rooted for Germany in the 90s and the aughts and Germany had, I think it was 6, 7, 8 years. Germany had never beaten like a world power. You know what I mean? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like the first world power they beat was they finally beat Argentina in the 2006 World Cup on penalties. But up until that point, they never really beat any other world powers. They kept tying or losing them. So, you know, we still haven't seen them play against a France or an England or a Switzerland, which won the group over Italy, or the mighty Serbia. You know, when Germany can beat Serbia, we know we're in good shape.
Serbia is the new litmus test.
They lost to North Macedonia, lest we forget.
That was still under Yogi.
Yogi.
And we won't know until next year at this World Cup.
What are they going to do for the next year? Do they have another Nations League, friendlies lined up? Germany has 12 months till the World Cup starts. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think the Nations League starts. right? Because they have to start qualifying. Because they can't start usually they would start qualifying in the fall for the Euro. So they have to start before that. So there's Nations League and there's other stuff. No worries. There is always going to be more foosball.
Yeah, they're gonna play Austria over and over and over again.
You want to talk you want to talk about this whole COVID situation? That was a bit of a pre-Liechtenstein kerfuffle. I mean, obviously, because these games didn't really matter because Germany was already qualified. This wasn't as big a deal as it could have been. But
Joshua was tested positive, and then Kimmich is not vaxxed, and they're not releasing the names of the other players that had to isolate. I think there is a little bit of I think multiple players are unvaxxed, and they're trying to keep it quiet.
I thought it was, the way I read it was that because Kimmich, there's categories of risk, right? This is Germany, obviously, so there's documents and very categories and rules, and so the fact, the way I understood it, not to get too much into the weeds here, the way I understood it is the fact that Kimmich is not vaccinated made his closer contacts higher risks because of that. So Kimmich not being vaccinated made it necessary for 5 players to quarantine and not be part of this when otherwise it would have just been him. And so there was some talk as to if during this World Cup, maybe only if you are vaccinated or have recovered from COVID can you be on the squad. That's something to be discussed. And so that would
I'm fine with that.
That would leave Kimmich out potentially, and he gets to hang.
He just needs to go get a shot. He said he'll get a shot. He just doesn't want to, but if he's forced to, I'm sure he will. But the here in the United States, and I'm sure in a lot of other places, there's it's done privately. Where I work, we have to hand in our vax card, and there's a huge push for everyone to be vaccinated, and it's done privately because it's within their rights as a private company to do something like that. So for the German national team or for FIFA, the government can't force them to do it. But the confederations can, I don't see why the federations can't, So it'd be like, if you want to play for the national team, we have a policy, you got to get vaxxed, It'd be like saying, all right, everybody, it's flu season, go get your flu shot. And if you don't get your flu shot, you can't play. I don't see the big deal with that. Just go get your flu shot. Go get your vax shot.
Well, I mean, people get very worked up about vaccine mandates. Right? If you have children in public school or preschool in New York City, you are subject to all sorts of vaccination mandates. So this is not, for me, this is not a new thing. And same in Germany, actually. You have to. It's if you want to go to school, you have to get certain. So this is. Some people are surprised by this whole idea, and for
if you want to travel,
if
you want to go to, say, Brazil and live there for 5 years like I did, you have to have 6 different shots, and you have to have a shot card, immunization card. So if you want to go to, say, I don't know, the Middle East, you probably have to get vaccinated. You probably have to have some sort of vax package of things that only exist in the Middle East. God knows what it is. You have to get. If you go to South America, you have to get shot for yellow fever, man. That's just how that works.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Why not?
When I sort of read about this and dug into it, what I thought was interesting compared to the U.S. is that in Germany they're very much, if you are recovered from COVID, it sort of counts as much as being vaccinated in certain ways because you have these antibodies and which by certain studies are more powerful than the vaccine. So I thought that was interesting. So in Germany, it's geimpft. The mystery.
Is it so that when you are formally recovered of the thing, it is stronger than a vaccine? Who knows? Next on Unsolved Mysteries. So sometimes when I don't play a drop, it's like, it's drop time. In Brazil, I keep invoking Brazil a lot. But in Brazil, there is a resort that you can only go to if you are a recoverer of COVID. Mm-hmm. If you've had COVID, you can go to this resort because according to them, you're then technically immune, which certain research, like especially in Korea, has debunked. However,
oh really? Okay.
it was debunked months ago. People get COVID twice. Plenty of people have gotten
Right.
COVID twice.
But also, but people with the vaccine also get COVID.
That's true. Niklas Zule was vaccinated, and he tested positive.
And he had it a year ago. He had it previously. He is just the COVID magnet.
He's a COVID magnet. He's out partying all the time. I also so bless you. You got a little COVID going on over there? What do you got over there?
No. I just had the sniffles. It's not the virus.
Okay, just the sniffles.
It's not the virus.
I was listening to. This is actually a decent segue. I was listening into a press conference, and there was someone just coughing in the background over and over again. If I were in that room, I'd be like, dude, that guy needs to get out of the room. You know what I mean? You know how usually there's like a coughing, but if someone coughs over and over again, in today's day, that person needs to get out of the room and he needs to go isolate a little bit. Not maybe he just has a cough or whatever, but you can't be too careful these days. You know.
You would be that guy.
Speaking of which,
okay.
No, I've been there. When I was in Vegas, like 6 months ago. I took the bus that goes up and down the strip, and there was a guy on the upper deck coughing up a lung. And this was before the vaccine. And sure enough, every single one of us left and went downstairs. He should have been kicked off the bus, but he was not. He could have been acting to get the whole thing by himself. God knows I've done a little acting.
That'll work.
In New York, I've done a little cough to get my own private space. I have done that.
Really?
Yes, it's a great technique.
Wow,
if say you live with someone and he's very antsy about it and you really don't like him, just cough out a lung every time he wants to come up to you, and you'll never see him ever again. So it's a fun tip. That
is an insight into the depths of your psyche.
Genau. I'm the butcher master.
Yeah, just the psyche of a butcher master. But anyway, I would love to. So the only other thing. Germany's good to go. We got to see how they play against big teams, but they're in good shape, I think.
Yeah.
USA versus Jamaica tomorrow will be very interesting because USA does have a hangover effect sometimes. Jamaica's got Leon Bailey and Michael Antonio. Antonio scored his first goal for Jamaica a couple days ago. You know, they've got some firepower. It's in Jamaica, so overall it'll be a fun game. And also, I visited a soda emporium here in Los Angeles. And I picked up a recommended soda called
Ting, yeah. Sparkling grapefruit.
Have you ever heard of it? I never heard of this before.
I have heard of it. I have heard of it. And
it's a Jamaican soda.
It's a Jamaican soda. And it's interesting you bring it up because I recently, in my old age, discovered that I really enjoy grapefruit juice, which I had never...
Interesting.
Which I never had. Guy. Yeah. I used to not be either, and now I'm kind of enjoying it. So maybe I will try some Ting for this game.
Well,
also
Ting,
as more of a neutral anyway, I can probably could benefit.
No, I'm going to drink Ting. I love Ting. It's a Jamaican soda. It tastes kind of like Fanta. I went out to buy Fanta, German Fanta, which I did find at World Market. I also got some Niederecker Marzipan, which is some of my favorite. Always good for the holidays. And I got this Jamaican soda just because it was well recommended. And Ting could very well be my new favorite soda. So just a little sidestep.
Oh, you're liking it.
Oh, I'm loving it. And I don't love grapefruit, but there is an overwhelming grapefruit taste. It kind of just tastes like Fanta, but like almost a better Fanta with pulp. The last thing I want to touch on, get yourself some Ting. On the side of the bottle, it says it's a Jamaican Ting. So... You know, they got jokes on the bottle. I'm all big fan about that, as long as you write jokes. But anyway, I would love to maybe touch on MLS real quick before we leave. Is that okay?
The playoffs are upon us, coming at the worst.
Before the playoffs, I just want to play this.
Oh.
You guys all need to listen a little differently than maybe you have in the past, and hopefully that you're going to be incredibly exact with what I'm saying in what you write, okay? Congratulations to Salt Lake, but what is incredibly disappointing, what is of every single person that is associated to our club and to all the clubs that are competing, because this result affects them as well. And so Salt Lake gets in, LA gets knocked out. LA is now sitting on the outside because of the call as well. And that is incredibly unprofessional. The fact that you have VAR, the fact that you have replays, the fact that you sit upstairs and you look at replays and you have all the time in the world to make that decision. He could have went a couple times because the ball didn't even go out of bounds. He could have blew the whistle at any time, but VAR not coming back and talking about a clear and obvious mistake that's not a handball. If that is the case, if that's what they believe, then, and I'm never one to ever ask for anybody's job or anything, then I would say that all of those guys are not able to referee, to look at VAR, to do whatever at this level. It has impacted everything. It is the black mark on this league. It is an example of why we lose so many people to watch this game year in and year out, game in and game out, because we do not get it right. It's what I appreciate about the NFL.
All right, I think it was just a
that
segment.
was it?
He goes on like that it's a 16-minute tirade.
Wow.
I just couldn't play all 16 minutes.
Burn it all down, he says.
He
Peter
talks
Vermees
about the
says,
travesty.
burn it all down.
So that right there is Peter Vermees talking about the missed handball call by one Ted Uncle, a referee that us New York Red Bulls fans despise because he's always quick for a red card.
And
Peter Vermees he's a terrible ref. And Peter Vermees just goes out and says, I'm not one to get people fired, but that guy should never referee in MLS ever again. So he's pulling shots. And he's right, by the way. It was a big handball call last week, blown, and if called, could have been an equalizer, and LA Galaxy could have been in the playoffs. And essentially, it was a blown call that futzed around with this whole playoff nonsense in the first place. So I just wanted to play that off. Peter Vermees was fined today because he's not allowed to. The league, like North Korea, you're not allowed to speak badly against it, no matter how imperfect it is, Pro released a statement apologizing, saying that, our bad or whatever, which is nice of them to do, but at the end of the day, what's the deal? Like, you've got cameras, you've got the VAR ref. Like, why are you missing calls like that? Come on now. If you're
the LA Galaxy, you got to be upset. If this is costing you your playoff spot, it's pretty upsetting. I mean,
I would sue the referee in court. I think that would be hilarious. It's about
there's got to be some kind of legal protection that they have against that kind of thing. I don't think that would happen. No. But
I would sue him in court. I would sue Ted Uncle in court personally. I would say the playoffs cost us an extra $1 million in revenue. You owe us $1 million.
I think there's two sides to, like, people complain about the referees everywhere you go in any country, any league. And but
they're particularly bad here. I know, but they're particularly bad here. In Brazil, which I invoke constantly, a bunch of dudes ran on the field at a Grêmio match and ripped the VAR machine apart. They kicked it over. Because VAR recalled a goal and they ran on the field, kicked the machine over, threw it aside, and just fucking bashed it with some beer. And I'm just like, I love that kind of passion. I love that kind of passion. So yeah, there's bad refereeing everywhere, but they could get better. MLS refs have been the same crappy refs they've been for years. You're telling me there's no better generation of refs somewhere coming up? Why does it have to be the same crusty 5 failures over and over again?
I think there's a range, actually. There's some, I think some are better than others. I think they're getting younger. There are some younger ones that are good. But yeah, Ted Uncle, Alan Chapman.
Ted Uncle's got to go.
Alan Chapman, right. Ted Uncle.
They can go.
Mike Kelly, the guy who was the guy who called 8 minutes of stoppage time in the Hudson River Derby. That was insanity. Yeah, no, I mean,
the Irish guy is good. The guy who used to run it, then became a ref, Mike Kelly or whatever his name is. I forgot his name. There are some good refs in there. Howard Webb is a very good ref, so for him to run the whole pro ref is a good thing. Yeah, run pro.
Professional
and Howard
referees.
Webb. You know who's a better ref is Howard Webb's wife is a better ref. You know who Howard Webb's wife is?
No, I was going to say that about.
The German ref, the German female ref.
Oh, interesting. BB.
I forgot her name. BB.
Oh
Newworth.
yeah. Okay.
I forgot her name.
BB.
She.
Ted Uncle's wife, Christina, also is a good ref of her own right.
Oh really?
So
who's Ted Uncle's wife?
Christina Uncle. She was during the Women's World Cup. She was hired as a consultant for Fox, and so she was commenting on referee decisions, and I enjoyed her. I thought she was.
Who's your uncle?
I liked her
Christina
more than
Uncle?
her. I liked her more than her husband.
No.
Anyway,
Her husband. Yeah. More
Playoffs.
lady refs, by the way. I'm a big fan of that. There was a lady ref at one of the MLS games. I think men probably behave a little better. Hopefully,
I think I would take Christina over Ted any day. As a ref.
So hashtag
yeah.
more lady refs.
We're out of time.
Yes.
Playoffs are coming up. New York NYCFC has all sorts of injuries. Keaton Parks is a blood clot. Terrible.
Blood
Alex.
clot?
Yeah, he just
Is he
got
gonna lose his
surgery. No. It seems like he's going to make a full recovery, but not in time for any games this year. Alex Collins left a Peru game with some muscular problems. So we are having all kinds of injury issues at a terrible time.
And Zelalem or whatever, Gideon Zelalem, who replaces Keaton Parks, he's suspended, right, for the game?
Yeah, he got a red card, so he's also out. So we're very thin in the midfield, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's on Sunday.
So you're not you think Atlanta's going to nab it or what?
I mean, I'm not going to bet against us, but I'm definitely worried. I'm not going into this with any kind of certainty whatsoever. I think this could certainly go wrong.
Atlanta doesn't seem to have too many. Atlanta doesn't have too many injury problems, I don't think. We'll see after the qualifiers. New York Red Bulls are doing great because none of their players play for any sort of national team, so they're doing fine.
Fantastic.
That's not true. We have a couple. I think Caceres is down with Venezuela, and we have Caden Clark with the U20s. And US U20 plays Mexico U20 tomorrow, believe it or not. There's another USA-Mexico game featuring Caden Clark, who crushed it against their 2-0 victory over Colombia. So there are, I'm just hoping they stay healthy and they come back and ready to go for the playoffs next weekend. Our predictions in the last week's broadcast, I still commit to them. And then next week at our next broadcast, we will do a review and we will see how good our predictions were and check out all the craziness in MLS playoff action. Anything else from you, Bjorn?
That's it. I think we've done it. Hour and 7 minutes. Very good. Good work.
2-0.
2-0.
2.
2-0. 2-0.
0.